yesterday's news.
Hello and welcome to Old News, the programme and podcast which looks at news stories of the day through the papers of yesterday. Well, we have had something of a cold snap of late, haven't we? Hopefully it won't last too long, unlike 1963 for those who have a long memory. So I thought we'd look into ice or icy weather. So if you whack that in to the wonderful database, which is the online papers resource, you come up with a great mix of stories. I've just pulled a few out. Lots about accidents and such like, of course, but we can't talk about those all night. So the first one that leapt to my attention was this from the Isle of Man Examiner of Saturday, August the 10th, 1895. Ice, ice, ice is the headline. And it turns out to be an advert for ice rather than a warning. Joseph Kelly, ice merchant, 2 St Barnabas' Square, supplies natural and artificial ice to consumers in large or small quantities at the lowest prices. Delivered free of charge. Country orders delivered at the railway station. Ice in stock all the year round. You forget we didn't always have refrigerators and freezers. Postcards and telegrams punctually attended to. Also agents for Eddie's ice chests and refrigerators. Oh, they were creeping in then. The following is a copy of analysis received from Messrs. A. Norman Tate & Co. of the Institute of Chemical Technology and Analytical Laboratory, 5, 8, 9 and 11 Haggins-Hay, Liverpool, the 9th of March 1894. We have examined and submitted the analysis samples and large and small blocks of ice taken by us at the factory of the Liverpool Cold Storage and Ice Company Limited, Williamson Square, Liverpool. The ice inspected and sampled by us was clear and transparent, and careful analysis proves it to have a composition equal in purity to the highest class drinking waters, and we fail to find any traces of the presence of injurious metals, chemicals, or other objectionable substances. It is free from the considerable quantities of organic contaminations which we have found in supplies of natural ice. Signed A. Norman Tate & Co. So there you go. Clean ice. Go to Mr. Kelly of St Barnabas' Square. You do forget in those days how much of a luxury item ice might have been, particularly in the summer, of course. Maybe not so much the winter. Another icy headline, and again rather chiming in with today's problems: colds and influenza. The way to avoid them. This is from the Isle of Man Examiner of Saturday, November the 1st, 1918, and turns out to be a little bit of an advert, but you wouldn't think so when you start it. There's no great headline or colourful logos. The way to avoid colds. Some persons have been known to fall into icy water and never experience the slightest ailment afterwards. Others, travelling in a crowded train or sitting at home in a draught, are laid up with a heavy cold, or worse still, fall victims to the prevalent influenza. The difference is all in the bodily condition at the time. When a person is strong, hearty, able to enjoy a brisk, cold day, chills and infections are set at defiance. But when the system is below par, run down, bloodless and nervous, the germs of influenza are quick to seize their opportunity. Go to bed at the first feverish sign of influenza, eat little or nothing, and call in the doctor. Remember that when the fever has gone, a long period follows during which the system remains low and depressed. There is a great difficulty in regaining strength. The victim is usually unfit for the normal amount of work. The way to avoid colds, influenza and all other infections is to keep the health up to the mark. Yep. The nerves steady. Good advice. The digestion in good working order. Absolutely. The veins full of good red blood. Well, one would hope so, because they make good, rich blood, and so help the body to resist attacks of colds and influenza. Thousands have praised, wait for it, Dr. Williams' pink pills for pale people. I kid you not. For the same reason, they are even more valuable in restoring strength and fitness for work after the system's been weakened by such attacks. Miss M. Hayward of 11 Doctor Street, Burnley, states, "After I had had an attack of influenza, I found myself in a very low state of health. It seemed as though I was never going to recover strength, and one doctor said that I was dangerously weak and bloodless. The bronchitis followed. I had to remain in bed for some time, but besides the cough and weakness, I had pain all over me. My digestion was too weak for anything more than beef tea, for that read Bovril, I think, or milk. I got little sleep at nights, and my blood seemed like cold water. Also, I suffered from headaches and was often subject to fainting attacks. Though I took medicine after medicine after medicine, the dregs of influenza seemed to have mastered me, and my nerves were shattered. What do you think could be the remedy? A friend recommended me to take Dr. Williams' pink pills for pale people. So I began a course of these little pills and found after just a few days they had awakened an appetite. Day by day they improved the state of my blood. Then steadily my strength grew, the cough left, my nerves were braced up, and soon all headaches went and all pain left my limbs. After taking Dr. Williams' pink pills for pale people a little longer, I was completely cured, though I had given up hope of ever being well again. These pills built up my strength and dispelled all the after effects of influenza. If you want to be well, lose no time. Buy Dr. Williams' pink pills for pale people from any local dealer today, but look for Dr. Williams' name on the package. Never accept a substitute. Quite right too. I could do with one of Dr. Williams' pink pills for pale people today, realistically. I'm sure lots of others listening could do the same thing. I don't know whether they're still available, but if you pop into your local chemist, just ask for Dr. Williams' pink pills for pale people and see if they have one lurking in the storeroom at the back. We're also told invaluable advice on health and keeping fit is contained in the Little Health Guide, which is offered free to readers. Well, that could come in very useful, couldn't it? Well, I'd say so anyway. A little closer to home, for me in any case, the Cronkavody Crunnick, a list of winners. The Cronkavody Crunnick, we're told in the Ramsey Courier of Friday, January the 25th, 1952, attracted considerable interest on Thursday of last week, and there was a large attendance in spite of the icy cold weather conditions. Well, of course, it was, January. Mr. J.C. Niverson, MHK, was the chairman, and the adjudicators, Miss Mavis Kelly, Mr. Peter Hislop, Messrs. J.J. Crowlin and H. Corkle on the confectionery, and Mr. Bert Cayley was the accompanist. I was convinced it was going to be Wendy McDowell there for a moment, but even Wendy wasn't playing in 1952. And Messrs. J.R. Crane and H.A. Moore were the secretaries, Mr. W.J. Quirk, the treasurer. And then in the children's competitions, you might recognise yourself if you took part in the Cronkavody Crunnick of 1952. Shout out for, I'll just give you a few of them in the children's classes. Solo boys, 11 and under. First was Philip Wilson and second Jazz Kane. Was that James Kane? Surely not. In the spelling bee, Wendy Corlett took the honours with Jean Moore second. The solo girls, 11 years and under. Shirley Moore was first. Dina Corlett tied, in fact, for first place. Shirley Moore and Dina Corlett. Well done to both of them. Recitation, 10 years and under. Pauline Ellis won with Wendy Corlett second. In the quiz, Ramsey Faulkner won with Jean Moore second. And in the recitation, 16 years and under, Dina Corlett won again. And Joan Quirk was second. The children's choir, who else would win but the Cronkavody Children's Choir? Were you ever in the Cronkavody Children's Choir? Do let me know if you were. Howard Kane at manxradio.com. That's Kane, C-A-I-N-E. Be lovely to hear from you. Another thing we forget about, and you wouldn't necessarily instantly associate with bad, cold and icy weather, scooter rallies. The Isle of Man Daily Times, Tuesday, December the 16th, 1958. The ice beats the scooters. Black ice on the lower sections of the TT course, plus the hazards in 4 miles of snow and ice on the road from the Mountain Mile to Windy Corner, brought about the abandonment of certain tests, which were to be carried out by 2 249cc make-a-letter scooters last weekend. The scooters were dispatched from the Quarterbridge Cafe at noon on Sunday by worsening road conditions, called for a halt at 6 p.m. Different targets have been set for each machine, one being scheduled to maintain a set average speed, while the other was to be ridden at a maximum mileage for a period of 24 hours. Additionally, the continuous circuiting of the TT course was for the purpose of trying out 2 different lubricants, SO Extra and an improved 2-stroke Castrol fuel. The make-a-letters were brought to the island on Friday by Messrs David Gallagher, Northern Representative, John Dunn, Service Manager, and Victor keen chief mechanic, and on their arrival were met by local agent Mr. Harold Rowell, who was called upon to make up the team foursome. It had been intended to start the venture at 3 p.m. on Saturday, and the scooter set off to tackle the TT course. But deteriorating road and weather conditions, particularly snow and ice on the mountain, were considered too hazardous for an all-night run, and after 2 laps, the tests were postponed. The start on Sunday was scheduled for 10 o'clock, but a survey of the course revealed that the road from Gooseneck to Keppel still bore an icy surface, though sunny weather conditions might bring about a thaw. I knew there was a scooter rally sort of in the summer or late spring or summertime. I didn't realise they were going strong in the middle of December. Strange time to be doing such things, isn't it? But there we are. Such is life. The old scooter rallies are no more, I'm afraid. They very much are old news, as is this programme. More in the podcast, of course, as usual. For now, though, I'll see you next week. Cheerio.
You're gonna be yesterday's news.